What up, YouTube? Back with another video. Today, we're going to talk about tracking KPIs, what that actually means, and why it's super important for you to be able to hit 40K months as a life insurance agent. My name is Trey. I'm the owner of Agent Lead Lab. In the past 3.5 years, we've helped 550 agents issue pay $40,000 per month. And one of the methodologies that we always talk about and is super important is key performance indicators, otherwise known as KPIs. On this channel, I try to break down behaviors, thoughts, patterns, mindsets of the agents and agency owners we're working with that are scaling, hitting record-breaking weeks, months, and years, and how they do it. So in this video, it's going to be no different. As always, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and let's hop right into it. All right, perfect. So context. All right, so you all know, I hope everybody had a great weekend. You all know that one of the things that I like to discuss is real life scenarios and what happens. So one of my, it's actually funny. One of my clients I've been working with for a while, but they've been just doing like smaller packages, hit me up the other day, and specifically, it was Sunday, which was yesterday, January 11th, and was like, hey, I want to spend more on ads and get more leads. I was like, okay, mindful, this client, we only do part of their marketing. So we do not do the full thing. We just do the ads. We don't do a lot of like strategy. We do like ads and scripting for their content, but we don't do we don't help out with any aspect of their sales. They're not like a full Apex client. We've just known them for a while. And one of the things that they hit me up and asked was like, I want to spend more on ads. It's like, perfect. But before we do that, we need to know what are our key metrics, meaning what are our KPIs? And the person was like, do you mean, what did they say? Like, do you mean, what are my, it's like how much I spent on ads or something like that? And I was like, no. I was like, key performance indicators. I was like, okay, well, how many sales did you make last month? And they were like, oh, well, I need to go back and check. And I was like, okay, well, what is your cost to acquire a client? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm going to break down in this video why that's so important, because you can't spend more or buy more leads unless you know these numbers. All right. So knowing your numbers. My bad. So I heard this. I used to hear this phrase all the time. If you don't know your numbers, you can't grow your numbers, right? So know your numbers. You cannot grow your numbers. And what that means is people will say, hey, I'm making, $50,000 a month as an agent, and I want to make 70. A lot of times we are very emotional about growth. And this is really agents, because we don't, like a lot of agents, like me and myself, you don't know your numbers. You're just buying leads. You have no idea how many leads you need to convert. What's your average closing percentage? You don't have any of your numbers. So when you make decisions, you make them emotionally. You're like, well, I feel like I need to be spending more and getting more leads. It's like, whoa, let's actually look at these numbers. All right. So the first thing you need to figure out is like ad spend or lead spend. All right. So, and you need to figure that out because you need to figure out how much are you currently putting out. So for simple sakes, let's say you're doing $1,000 a week, which is $4,000 a month. It's kind of standard. All right. So like, how many leads is that getting you? So let's say for that $1,000 a week, for simple math, I'm getting 50 leads, right? So that's $20 per lead. All right, cool. And that is 80 leads, 200 leads per month. Okay. And let's say for those, when I do 50 leads in a week, let's say out of those 50 leads, I book 10 appointments. Okay. So typically what that means is my cost per booked app is what? So I take the 50 divided by 10, right? And that means that, my bad. Cost per booked appointment is going to be 10 leads at $1,000. So I take that as $100 per booked appointment. Okay. That's number one. Then I need to look at what is from the booked appointments, how many people I close. So from booked apps, how many people do I close? All right. So let's say I have 10 booked appointments and I close 6 people. Okay. It's a 60% closing rate. People know what that is. All right. That's really simple. So for every, I book six, I close 6 out of those 10. Right. So what I need to understand is I have a 60% closing rate. That's super good. So if I get a lead, I got a 60% chance of closing it. Okay. Now, here's the thing that's super, 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 super important. What you need to figure out is what is the cost to acquire a client. All right. So let's say that if it's 60%, then let's say that in that scenario, I spent, it was $100 for booked appointment. And then for every 2 people I closed, for every 2 people I got, I would get a close theoretically, right? Because if it's 60%, that means it's 2 people. So my cost to acquire a client is $200. Now, if you want to get more concrete, this is typically like how I do it, right? So you take the total number of people that you closed at the end of the month or at the end of the week, and you divide it by the total investment, right? That will tell you what your actual cost to acquire a client theoretically is. So let's just do some simple math. All right. So I had 1,000 people. Or I spent $1,000 and I closed 6 people. That means my actual cost of acquire a client is $166. So the cost of that's actually not that's bad. $166. So people are like, how did you do that? All right, let's do it again. All right. So let's say I spent $1,000. $1,000. Okay. I closed 6 people. Remember, I had to do all the booked appointment stuff first. There's numbers in between that. But the most important number is what is the cost to acquire a client. I spent $1,000. I closed 6 people. I take 1,000 divided by 6, and that means my number, the cost to acquire a client, equals $166. Now, why is that important? Here's the next thing you need to look at. What's the cost per sale? Cost per sale. All right. So let's say of the people, I put 1,000 in. How much did I actually make back? So let's say that for those 6 sales, I made, let's just do an average annual premium of $1,000. So I made $6,000. Then what I do is the cost per sale is going to be how much did I get? So if my average is 1,000, let's just say across the board, that would be 1K. But let's just say it was 6,000 over 6 sales. That's $1,000 cost per sale. But let's do something a little bit more realistic. Let's say that I made $10,000 in commission and I closed 6 people. Okay. That means that's still 1,066. Let's do another number. Let's say I made 8,500. Okay. So you figure out, this is how to figure out cost to acquire client for acquisition. Okay. Then this is how to figure out cost per sale. All right. So we're going to go here. Boom. Go here. Boom. Okay. So let's say I had, for my $1,000 investment, I made an issue paid commissions equal, let's just say it's $8,645. Okay. So I take the 8,645 and I divide it by the total number of clients I had, which was 6, and that's going to give me, let's do so, 8,645 divided by 6 equals $1,440 is the cost per sale. So my average sale is $1,440. Okay, that's how I do my numbers. So it's like, once you know that, you know exactly what it is to grow. So it's like super simple. It's not rocket science. And this is how you make strategic decisions on what to spend to actually grow. Rather than you just saying, oh, I got to spend more money, I got to buy more leads. Like, no, you don't even know your numbers. You can do this for any lead type. Now, I do not suggest, because we're not doing the same marketing as you would in a normal business, you should do your cost to acquire a client and your cost per sale based off of lead type and if it's fresh or old. So I'm going to write that down. So how to calculate for you as an agent. So you should do your cost per sale and cost to acquire client says cost per acquisition for one, the lead type, and two, if it's fresh or aged. Very important. Lead type, right? Final expense, mortgage, IUL, etc. Fresh or aged, really simple. Cool. That's how you calculate it for you because they're going to be different. It's not going to be your cost per sale and your cost to acquire a client for fresh and aged will be a little bit different. Now you can make the decision about which one you want to do based on where it's at, but they're going to be a little bit different, right? Because your numbers are going to fluctuate. It should be right around the same though. When I say same, I mean like you should look at it to make whatever decision works best for you. Time is the factor that you're determining on when you look at fresh and aged. It's time. That's it. Your age cost to acquire a client should be lower and your cost per sale should be right around the same for aged. But for fresh, your cost to acquire a client, your cost per acquisition should be higher, but you spent less time. You called more people. That is the unmeasurable or uncategorized metric that we're not including in here. All right. Now you can look at your cost per booked appointment, but this is the actual only thing that truly matters in the life insurance space is right here. This is it. These two numbers are all you need. You don't need to worry about how much lead, because once you figure this out, you just decide how much you want to make. Most people don't know how to figure out what they make because they don't know what stuff costs. So they're trying to spend $1,000 and they're like, dude, I'm getting XYZ number of leads. Like that doesn't really matter. It's just like, how much are you spending? What are you getting out? Can you make those numbers a little bit lower? Make your decision. Your cost to acquire a client, and this is like, if you spend $1,000 and you close 6 people and you got your leads at this price, this is probably, just being honest, going to be more like a final expense, like genuinely. And by booked appointments, I shouldn't even say that. I should say per presentation, because that's actually not what it would be per booked appointment. Your numbers would actually be higher than that or lower than that. I apologize. That's what it would actually be, because that you're going to book more appointments than that. It's like all these people aren't going to show. If you get 50 leads in a week, you should probably book more than 10 appointments. You know what I mean? Like you'll have more on the books, but you should probably have 10 real opportunities. And if you close 6, that's actually really good, right? So you put $1,000 in, you made $8,000, but that's not really the most important thing. The most important thing is what did it cost you to get a client? Because if you only close 2 people, then it's like, okay, that's not really great, right? But if you close this many people, then it's like, okay, this is a little bit more consistent because you're gonna have up and down weeks. So these numbers may fluctuate a little bit, but it gives you a gauge on decision making. If you don't have a gauge on what to make decisions on, then what difference does it actually make, right? So fresher age, and then this is, so for this example, the reason I brought this up is because agents can scale when they know their numbers. Now it's simple. It's like, okay, so let's take agent 1. They want to make, $60,000 a month with these numbers above. Okay, so let's just role play. All right, so the only thing that really matters is the cost to acquire clients. So it's $166. So we just do some math, right? So we say, okay, you want to make $60,000 a month, right? And we just figured out that your average cost per sale is $1,440. Okay, so you take 60,000, you divide it by 1,440, and that means you need to make 41.6 sales. So let's just call it 42 sales. All right, it's going to be reverse engineer. Okay, so you took $60,000 per month is the goal. Okay, you're going to divide that by the current average cost per sale, which is going to be 1,440, and that's going to equal total number of sales needed, okay, which will be 42 sales. All right, that's how you figure that out. Your goal divided by the current cost per sale equals total number of sales needed, right? In other words, goal, income goal, divided by CPS equals number needed to sell or policies needed to close. Okay, so it's 42 sales. That's the first thing. All right, we understand that. Now it is 1600 or 166. So you take 42 times 166. It means you need to spend $6,972 to get to your goal. So theoretically, let's just say 77K. So we're going to do the same thing, right? You're then going to take your total number of sales. So this is going to be how this is going to be step one. Great. Ooh. Okay. This is going to be step two. So how you do this, you're going to take your total number of sales divided by your cost to acquire a client. That's going to equal lead spend. Super simple. So total number of sales is going to be 42 divided by the cost to acquire a client, which in this case is going to be 166. And that's going to give you a grand total of 6,972. But I'm going to round up and say 7K. Okay, that's step two, 7,000. Then what you do is say, well, with these leads right here, how many leads do I need? So $7,000. So if it costs me $1,000 to get, what we say up here, each lead is $20 a lead. Then what I do is I say, okay, I'm gonna take 7,000 and divide it by 20, which means I need 350 leads for the month. Okay, so step three. I'm gonna take the total lead spend divided by the cost per lead, and that's going to give me how many leads I need. And this is how you make the decision about how to scale. It's literally all you do, right? So now you say, in this example, $7,000 divided by $20 per lead, and that's going to equal 350 leads needed per month. Then if you want to get super granular, you just take the 350 and you divide it by 4, and that's 87 leads a week. And this is actually like how you scale. But most agents don't even understand this first part because they don't even know what the cost to acquire a client is. So they're out here making decisions on how to grow. Oh, I want to make this much. It's like, bro, you don't even have any relative understanding of what you need to spend. If you at least knew this first part, you'd be making way more money and you'd probably be way farther ahead. But because you don't know that, you have no idea what to grow. And this is the only thing you need to know. But you can't do this until you do the front end. So if you don't know your numbers, you can't grow because you don't know what decisions to make to actually put you in the driver's seat. And this is a super simple video. And that's why I wanted to bring it to you today, because the most successful agents and agency owners, they know their numbers. They're like, hey, I got to get 100 leads a week, right? So then people just typically guesstimate. So I got the 87 because it gave me a concrete number, which I think are super important. It's never going to be 100%. But if you want to err on the safe side, if it's 87.5 per week or 350 leads a month, just round up and say 400 leads a month, right? So if it's $20 a lead times 400, that means you need to spend $8,000. It's like you'll make 60K a month if these are your numbers. But you got to start with just like buy a pack and figure it out. People are so afraid to buy it and they want to know exactly what they're going to get. You're not going to know what you're going to get until you buy the pack, unless they tell you, the company can tell you what the average cost to acquire a client, and typically with the average, people ask for the closing rate. That's the wrong question. Your closing rate is very relative depending on your skill set. It's what is your average typically? What is the typical agent's average cost to acquire a client or the cost per acquisition? That is the number that's important. If that number is too high or too low for what you said, you should be shaky. It should always be somewhere in the middle. Like I always talk about it. Mortgage protection, IUL is like 250 all the way up to like 450, depending on how you sell, right? Final expense should be like $200 or less. If it's more than $200, it's like, it's not worth it. With chargebacks and everything else. If it's like less than 80, it's like it's sketchy because it's probably like the closing, what you're closing them for is probably garbage policies, right? Annuity should be, $7,000, $8,000, $1,000, sometimes even plus. $800 or $1,000 plus. And a lot of times not even 800, it's typically like 1,000 to about like 1,500 to close somebody, which is fine because you're making a crazy amount. But you need to understand, if you don't know those numbers, it doesn't matter. You can't grow. You can't look at lead vendors, lead companies, and get all super emotional. Oh, it's like, dude, if you don't even understand the numbers, why are you complaining and why are you fussing? Like, it doesn't matter. You don't know what you're actually doing. So as always, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. My name is Trey. Once again, I'm the owner of Agent Lead Lab. If you're looking for leads and you want to potentially work with us, just go to leadlabcrm.com. We have lead packages from $1 all the way up to $55, and we're coming out with new stuff all the time. If you're an agency owner and you want to partner with us, we have 2 phases we could do it. You can do our free partnership model. You come in, you will have to buy a pack of leads initially. We do need to evaluate if you're actually going to be good. You have to close. You have to show us that you can actually do it. If you can't do that, then it doesn't really matter. We're not going to partner up with you, but you can buy and work with us as Apex, which is where we're going to run your ads and build for you your own CRM. It's really simple. We're going to give you the scripts to record on the videos. We're going to give you full access, etc. The prerequisites for that is you got to be an agent doing over 50K, 50K, and or be an agency owner. Be an agency owner doing $250,000, $300,000 a month plus, and you have to have a minimum of 3 agents doing at least $20,000 a month. Our packages start at 5K, go up to 10K, depending on, and that's per month, depending on who you are, what you're looking for, etc. If you don't have that, just don't book a call. Don't waste our time. If you do have something along those lines and you want to actually work with us and you get on a call, like, be ready to go. I'm going to be transparent. We don't really want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time either. If not, just buy some leads. We've already told you the price. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to get stuff like this, but like a lot more hands-on. You're going to get your own individual ads department and backend systems manager that's going to work hand in hand with you, scale you and all of your agents. And that is a flat rate for you and your agency. So if that's something you're interested in, go to the website, check it out. If not, just keep watching my free stuff. I appreciate you all as always, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.